And we're back with you now, live here on the Carolina Weather Net and the Carolina Weather Group on this Wednesday, January the 26th, 2022. I'm James Brierton in Charlotte. That's Jared Smith in Charleston and Scotty Powell in Morganton, North Carolina. And we're going to go from hurricanes back over to winter weather. We know so many of you were with us at the top of the 9 o'clock hour when we were talking Carolina weather with Jared. And we went to our scheduled interview, episode 397 of the weekly interview series here from the Carolina Weather Group.
That's crazy.
That is absolutely crazy. Scotty Powell, who I think you've been on every single one of them. So 397, put down Brian Norcross. So we're back. We're talking Carolina weather. And Jared Smith, why don't we just start with you, because you took us through it at 9 o'clock, and I think people still have questions and they're hungry for more. Jared.
Yeah, no. Well, let's give it to them. So yes, we're talking snow, and we are talking a decent amount of snow. Maybe, nothing too crazy, nothing too out of band. But then again, I guess an inch of snow down here, can cause all sorts of havoc. But the one thing we're not talking about is ice. And I am so thankful for that, guys. After this last week, I am so thankful we're not talking about ice. So let's get right into it. And let me put myself in the corner here. Here's the Weather Prediction Center's probabilities for snowfall. Highest probabilities are going to be found in the Blue Ridge Mountains there, up to about 80% now or more, for about an inch or more. Up there, and those probabilities wane a little bit as you get into the foothills. Sorry, Scotty. And then and then as you get back towards Raleigh and you get into Northeast North Carolina in particular, highest residence time of the low that we'll be talking about here in a few minutes. That is we're going to see a little bit better chance of that. We're going to have there is a potential for a little bit of accumulating snow all the way south into the PD of South Carolina. There could be some conversational flakes as far south as the low country of South Carolina, and we will talk about that here in just a second. But first, let's talk accumulations. This is the kind of thing that'll, this is the kind of thing that can still cause some problems on the roads and cause some travel issues. And again, right now the bullseye for accumulations roughly through 8 o'clock Saturday. So it's going to be more of a Friday night, Saturday event. Generally in Northeast North Carolina, where we're looking at 2 to 3 inches around places like Roanoke Rapids, Rocky Mount, 3 to 4 inches right there at the Virginia border. And so, 1 to 2 inches in Raleigh, 1 to 2 inches in Greensboro, and then you get into Charlotte and you get into Hickory and Boone. Generally right now the Weather Service forecast has you at about an inch or less, a dusting. Nothing horribly disruptive, but still, we could still see some, snow-covered roads. It doesn't always take a lot down here to cause problems. And as we get into South Carolina, dusting primarily in the northern tier of the state, where from Rock Hill down to Winnsboro, down to Camden, up to Cheraw and Dillon, generally about an inch or less of snow, but just a dusting there. But again, this is accumulations. This is not necessarily where it is going to snow. And again, as I mentioned before, we could see snow flurries as far south as the Charleston metro area, depending on a lot of things, depending on if the moisture is there, depending on if how fast the cold air gets here, and all of that. So again, that's going to be somewhat tricky to deal with. But what we're going to do right now is we're going to take a look at some weather models here. And this is the earlier NAM. This is the standard cycle 12Z run. The 18Z run did not come in completely into my system. We are now also getting the 0Z run, which is interesting. So we'll keep an eye on that as well as it comes in over on my screen over here. But what we're looking at right here, this is roughly 1:20. This is a Friday afternoon. Start to see some signs of surface low pressure developing, and this is in response to a trough that'll be digging in very, very quickly here from the generally around the Rockies here. We're going to move forward in time a little bit. You're going to see that trough kind of swing through Dallas as we get into the afternoon on Friday. And by the time it gets around, let's see, this is about Friday afternoon or so, we could start to see some snowfall begin to fall in the mountains here. And again, that is going to be in response to this trough that's going to be drawing some moisture up from the north. You can see some showers and thunderstorms to the south there, well into the Gulf. But also notice that there's an area of low pressure starting to develop offshore. And as we move forward in time, that low pressure really starts to get going as that trough really digs in, takes on a neutral or even slightly negative tilt, which is generally a sign that it is going to be fairly energetic. And so as we go through time, this is 1 a.m. Saturday. You can see a lot of blue. There's a lot of blue on the map. There's a little sliver of red, maybe a brief changeover during the rain to snow. There could be a brief changeover to like freezing rain or sleet. But again, the expectation is that we're not going to be dealing with ice this time, which is great. We're not really going to be handling that, which is really great news. And especially for those of us in Charleston who remember this weekend, we had 2 days where the bridge had to be closed because of the Ravalanche, where we had ice falling off of the Ravenel Bridge. You might have caught some of our coverage here on the Carolina Weather Group as we streamed webcams throughout the bridge to keep an eye on that. So again, this is 1 a.m. This may be a little bit early as far as timing for southern parts of South Carolina. But again, you see a pretty decent, snow showers, Charlotte, Raleigh, again, nothing too out, nothing too out of band, but it would be yet another snow event in January. We don't see this frequency of snow events. I mean, James, Scotty, chime in, correct me if I'm wrong, but like, this seems very rare for you guys to get, we get a couple snows a year, but not like this, like 3 in a month.
All I want to know is on Friday night, do I get to stand outside in my driveway again, hanging out with you all on YouTube while it's snowing around me? I'm hoping the answer is yes.
Yeah, it looks like it's gonna start to develop here. Here's 11 o'clock on Friday night. This is or 10 o'clock on Friday night. So, yeah, it certainly looks like that is going to be a distinct possibility. So we may very well be here again on Friday night as we were last week.
I don't think that would be the worst thing in the world.
No.
I'll say this, Jared, to answer your question. I actually posted about this on my weather page. I remember my grandparents telling me back in the 60s, I believe it was the 60s. I asked on Facebook, and Facebook seems to believe it's the 60s, but there was 4 consecutive Wednesdays that it snowed in Western North Carolina in my area. And so as soon as they got everything kind of pushed out of the way, well, the next snow would come, and then it would be the next snow. So it was 4 consecutive weeks where for our area saw, accumulating snow. But that's the only time that I've ever remember this happening. Ever since I've been born, I don't remember us having consecutive winter weather events like this. But I've not been around too long, just 30 years. So it's probably happened way before that. But to my knowledge, no, I don't remember this. So it's pretty rare. And, I'm seeing some of the comments roll in here. The Zero Z NAM run definitely is a little bit more interesting than what we've been seeing. So we'll see if that's a trend, and guys, help me here. Trends are a big thing when you're forecasting winter weather, because if you see one model run do one thing and then the next model run kind of goes back the other way, that's not really a trend. What you want to see is consecutive runs, 2 or 3 runs of showing this, well, it's more west or it's more east or north south. Then that's when we kind of get excited. We're like, oh, okay, we need to pay attention to this. So,
and it happened to us last week, right? So this is like deja vu all over again. Storm number 3 here that we're looking at, which brought us snow to where I am in Charlotte last Friday night. And on Thursday night, we were doing one of these Let's Talks, and we were watching the model runs, right? But even on Thursday, we were like, I don't know, it's trending west, but like 1's not a trend. 2's kind of a sorta, and 3's maybe okay. Maybe we should be paying attention to this, right? But we still have those wild inconsistencies, which it looks like so many people in our chat tonight are also watching with bated aspiration on every single model run that comes in, going, "What is happening? What is happening?" I'm hoping. I think it'd be really cool 3 times in 1 month. And
for what I think we talked about this, we recorded a show earlier tonight. We talked about. This is kind of making up for lost time, because the last couple of winters have really not been anything of interest in the winter weather department for the Carolinas. You'd have to go back to 2018 before we had our last big winter storm. So 3 consecutive weekends. And if you count actually the snow that fell in Boone, what was it, January 2nd? And it actually had some snow in, actually have snow in Greensboro and places like that. Some areas, this is the 4th consecutive weekend that there's been snow. So, I mean, that's pretty rare for anybody, honestly, but especially for the Carolinas.
No doubt about it. And again, we do have our bouts. I mean, this is not, it's not unusual, much like Tom Jones and Loving Anyone. It is not unusual for us to have, that was a stretch. I'm sorry. It's been a long day. It's not only unusual for us to see, a couple winter weather threats, but I mean, this has been really active. I mean, this is, and consider, guys, this is a La Nina winter.
Right.
This ain't supposed to happen in a La Nina winter, folks.
But if I can highlight the first part of what you said, it's January, it's winter, it's supposed to snow. Brad Panovich at WCNC had a fun fact the other night that I thought was like spot on. He goes, on average, Charlotte sees 4.1 inches of snow. That's exactly what we have so far. So if, as weird as it feels, because the last few winters were so not snowy,
right,
so far we're kind of only par for the course. But Jared, we do have to ask ourselves, is it the impacts, the reach that has people asking, like Sherry, is it going to snow this time in Charleston? I do think then maybe you start getting into, okay, are we still staying the normal route, or does this one have a broader reach?
Yeah, and it certainly seems like that this one may have, that we may very well be in the broader reach here. What I'm going to do here real quick, y'all, is I'm going to try and connect to, looks like
the weather gods
with that. I was getting the new NAM run in real time here. I want to kind of show that, but I'm having some trouble getting connected here, so I'm going to have to troubleshoot.
All right, well, I can take some of these questions while you do that.
Yeah.
And let me do some of these questions that were coming in both now and during our last interview that you were watching with Brian Norcross. So we had a question about Macon County, North Carolina, which is in western portions of the state, kind of foothills, mountainy, only dusting to half an inch or so. This is going to be another one of those, like last Friday, that northeast North Carolina is going to see more snow. So when we get questions like Virginia Beach get any snow, the answer is going to be yep, that's the way things are looking. It's still a little early to get very particular about the snowfall accumulations, but I do feel pretty comfortable saying we're talking a dusting, we're talking an inch, we're talking several inches. We can kind of give you that idea. Even Adam in Lawrence, South Carolina, kind of between Greenville and Columbia, maybe at best you see a couple flakes to set your expectation here, but we're not talking about, not really looking at snowfall accumulations for places like Lawrence. Alexander County could see a little bit something like Jared was mentioning, like with regards to Boone and Hickory a little bit earlier. But again, the emphasis is going to be off to the east. Piedmont Triad, yes, a little bit. But again, it's going to be kind of Raleigh, East, Elizabeth City, Virginia Beach for the Carolinas that are going to be the bulk of this. But from a national standpoint, I think Alex is spot on. Is Long Island, New York going to be hit hard? Yes. The forecast for Long Island is being measured in a foot plus for Suffolk County, places out east like Montauk and the Hamptons. A little bit less as you make your way through Nassau County and New York City. But I mean, by those standards, we're still talking 6-7 inches, which we're not talking about here in the Carolinas at all, to be clear. Take your questions as they continue to come in here. And we will see if Jared's got. Did I stall long enough for you, Jared?
I'm still dealing with that, so
okay.
we may have to skip it this go around. I'm going to try one more thing, but we may end up.
That's okay. And if we don't get it tonight, folks, we will be back again with you tomorrow to continue talking Carolina weather. 9:00. YouTube is the place that we will tell you to hang out, but of course you can also find us on Facebook and the like. So a couple of the questions coming in. Raleigh, we're talking about 1 inch. Rocky Mount, 2 inches. Elizabeth City, 4 inches. You could maybe see some areas north of Elizabeth City, 5 or 6 inches. I know I kind of just shrugged off that half foot amount, but I mean, if you're right up there on that Virginia border, I think it's a possibility, but you got to be east of 95 for sure. Northern Virginia, that's a great question, and I am gonna have to take a look here, right? Because we're focusing so much on the Carolinas, and I had that Long Island question ready. But it is definitely going to be, this setup is a pure nor'easter that is going to bring even more winter weather to places outside of the Carolinas. So when we're talking Northern Virginia, nation's capital area, it's possible that you could see, and oh man, Washington, D.C. and their snow holes like right on the edge of this latest NAM run I'm looking at. But, it could be that the east side of D.C. is seeing 5 or 6 inches, even a little bit less as you make your way through that I-81? It's 81, right? Corridor. But I mean, let me show this model run. Jared, which model run were you trying to get up?
I was looking at the 0Z NAM.
Okay.
So
I am currently looking at the 0Z NAM. Do I put this on the air, or am I going to scare people if I put this on?
Oh my goodness, yeah. I mean, from what I was seeing, this thing.
There's a big shift west. There's a big shift west.
And guys, keeping in mind too that when we look at a couple caveats around snowfall maps, this is the methods are not exact. The the calculations there will assume certain ratios and things there. So again, I'll caution you not to pay too much attention to the attempted exact numbers here. But this certainly will show perhaps where the greatest impacts could be based off of the NAM. And I think it's also worth knowing it is the NAM. NAM does things.
I think you're right. It's like we should be locking in at this point of like, oh, look at that 11 inches there. We should be talking more about the trends and the gist. So like Long Island's got a lot more snow than Pennsylvania. Like that's the gist we want to convey, because this is not Bible or set stone. But again, you can see a bullseye from our perspective in northeastern North Carolina with a trailing edge dropping off as you make your way into that I-77 corridor. So it's about the gist and the trends and not the specifics. But I mean, golly, if we got 2.5 inches of snow in Charlotte, and I'm talking as a former Long Islander, 2.5 inches of snow in Charlotte's going to be like, whoa.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be one of those things that the wobbles east or west with the low, especially for your coastal communities, are going to make a big impact. Further inland, we're going to be dealing with the trough that'll be moving in, and that actually is going to be where the mountain snow comes from. It's not even going to be this coastal system. The mountain snow comes from. So it's a complex setup there.
Yeah, I think Donald's right. Like 2 inches for Columbia, LOL. Like, I'm not feeling confident in that. And again, we're here talking about the probability, the likelihoods, the confidence. Again, I'm not trying to lock in. Look, could I be wrong? Could there be 2 inches of snow in Columbia? I guess there's a chance, but Scotty,
do you have the option of the national blend of models on there, the NBM?
I'm on weather.
I don't know. I don't know if you do or not.
It's just like on the interview we were just on when somebody got asked.
It's kind of a blend of. You may not. I can't remember if that's.
I don't think so.
Go up to that select model up there. The very there. Yeah. No, I don't see
Ensemble models.
Yeah, do the Shref. That'll work. Do that.
Okay.
This is kind of a blend of our short range models.
And that kind of this is probability, right? So this is probability of snow. That's not 50 inches of snow. That's 50% chance. Okay.
Yeah, that's a probability of. I don't know what the criteria is right there. What is it? You got 1 inch. I can see it.
Oh yeah, less. Not exceeding an inch. So
yeah, so there's your probabilities of seeing an inch of snow. I mean, that's at least a 50-50 shot for almost all of North Carolina, right there. And
which to your earlier point is why we count this one as the third, and not because yes, it snowed in Boone and some of those higher elevations at the beginning of the month, but like. I don't ask me for the quantifier, but I guess there is a certain quantifier when we're like, yes, we're going to do regional coverage. Yeah. This is what that looks like.
Yeah, that's the probability. And then you can go down to the 12-hour mean snowfall, and that'll kind of give you some of your accumulations down there.
Yeah. The national blend is really good too, because like this is actually part of the basis for the Weather Service's forecasts.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the national blend right now. I would love to screen share it, but I can't because we're broadcasting this live right now. So don't want to get in any trouble. But I'm looking at it here.
Why?
Off
What
screen.
else is on your computer there, Scotty?
Well, no, it's the requirements that Weather Bell don't want you to distribute it on live broadcast. But I'm looking at it off screen right now, and it like Jared said, it's kind of like that blend of all these models coming together. And there's, with this 0Z run, most of North Carolina is anywhere between an inch to 2 inches, and even into the upstate of South Carolina around a half an inch, and then even down your area, Charleston, Jared, it's showing a 2/10 of an inch, which could be some flurries that we've been talking about. So maybe we can find a free product of this and we can display it on our show tomorrow night. Give you a better idea.
Is now a bad time to tell people that they can click the little leave a tip or use the YouTube super chat to help fund licensing of products?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to do that, we could fund it, and then we could definitely show you all the good stuff. But I just don't want us to get in trouble. If someone sees this video and they're like, well, I don't know about that. But we'll see if we can find a source of that. But looking at it right now, I think I like the chances now this evening. The trend is a little bit up. We'll have to see if that trend continues. There's a little bit more excitement than maybe there was the beginning of today.
Donald, who's been very active in our chat tonight, and we appreciate that, made me stop for a moment and go, Jasper. I was like, cool. Because I forget, we don't use the winter storm names that the Weather Channel decrees because they're not nationally recognized by the Weather Service or other industries. So I forgot for a moment that Jasper was the name of winter storm. We got asked that last week. We had so many new people watching us here in the Carolina Weather Group, which we love. But we had a couple comments like, "Why don't you call it Izzy? Why don't you call it Jasper?" And that's just because one cable channel has decided to name it that because they think they're special.
Yeah, it was kind of funny. A friend of mine, her dog is named Izzy, and I was asking if she thought that was. I wanted to see if Izzy approved of the. Of that, and that was kind of fun. But yeah, the winter storm names, boy, we could do a show on that.
We probably have. So speaking of, we'll be back again tomorrow night talking Carolina weather again. The Let's Talk Carolina Weather series was a 2022 innovation that seems to be coming out at the right time for us. But that's where we're just hanging out, being conversational with you guys, being a little nerdy, and then hopefully you'll tune in each Wednesday for interviews like we had tonight with Brian Norcross, formerly of the Weather Channel. He has nothing to do with naming storms. And that's our mainstay weekly show that you can catch on YouTube and wherever you get audio podcasts. But before I get too promotional, Scotty Powell is holding up a finger to tell me something.
I'm looking at the Weather Service. I'm trying to get that NBM stuff put up. So you keep talking for a minute. Let me see if I can get
says, it. Wait, I didn't know y'all would be chatting after the show. I would have tuned in sooner. Let me tell you, Dip, it's because we didn't know we were going to be talking after the show. This was pure audience-generated feedback in that Jared came on at 9, gave a snow update. Then we tossed to our never-before-seen interview with Brian Norcross. We were planning to go about our merry evenings after that, but you guys kept chatting, so I messaged these guys, and I was like, when this episode's done premiering, we need to come back because the audience, they're still here, and they want more snow. So that is a kudos to you all, and to Michael's message here as well, that was purely a response to what you guys were doing. So thank you.
I have good news, guys. I now have connection to my AWIPS box, so we can show lots of interesting things. Would you all like to see some interesting things?
I would, sure. Yeah.
All right. So behind me is a little bit different map than you're used to. This is coming from an AWIPS system that I run. If you're not familiar with AWIPS, it's basically the software the National Weather Service runs, but also is open source. So this is highly geeky, highly nerdy. But the benefit of using AWIPS is that it shows us the runs that come in, the model runs that come in basically in real time. And so this is that NAM, NAM run we were talking about, guys. And this is going out this is going out 60 hours. I've turned the density down a little bit so y'all can see, so y'all can actually see what we've got going on here. The green lines are, let me thicken up the central pressure here again. I have, we're kind of doing this live for the first time here. I have never shown this system live.
This is a lot of processing.
Yeah, there's a lot going on here. So, but basically what we're looking at is I've got the 500 millibar trough here, and I can take off a couple of these things. And this is that upper air disturbance that's going, positive tilt, neutral to negative tilt. That's going to help really drive the snowstorm here. And then here's our low pressure system. The NAM has this down to 971 millibars off the Virginia coast.
A snow cane.
Well, there is a
and then it goes down to 966. I mean, this is, and it goes down to 965. And keep in mind, I took the density down on the lines. That's going to be some really fierce wind in the Atlantic there. And thank goodness, because like this is going to be like, I mean, the way that this has been modeled so far is quite a heck of a storm. And you can see the moisture wrapping around it, but I wanted to kind of zoom down a little bit. What I'm showing you here is basically the genesis of that low again. And I feel like that AWIPS does a better job of showing this, but you can see the moisture that's wrapping around it here with the precipitation estimates. And again, we're not looking at anything too like terribly heinous here. Maybe, this is QPF. This is not necessarily snowfall.
Thank you. I was just going to say, Jared, this is just precipitation. This
is just liquid precipitation. This is QPF. This is not snowfall. Again, this is a very nerdy tool. And so it's typically, again, not something we typically show. So again, this is not all snow either. This could be rain. This can be everything there. I know we had a question. Jacksonville. Oh my God, they're going to no. Jacksonville's not getting snow. It's not quite like that. But you can see here that we have this moisture hanging around. This is at 9 o'clock. Not 9 o'clock. This is more like 4 a.m. here. What I'm going to do also, guys. Yeah, it's 9 o'clock somewhere, right? What I'm also going to do is, as this comes in, you can see me adjusting here. Like this is, if you ever wondered how weather service people build their model views, this is how they do it. It is quite insane that I run this. Honestly,
it's quite insane that we're showing this on a live stream, because I feel like this is a whole nother level of nerd. And I don't know if it's because of the interview we taped earlier tonight where we were talking math equations, teaser for something you'll see in a couple of weeks. I don't know, but
it's nerdy, all right.
It's nerdy.
Can I just tell you, if we're nerd now, and I am a snow fan, I like the way this low pressure is tracking right now.
That's fair. So remind me, guys, it's just like last week, and I'm asking this question for the benefit of the audience, but also I forget. The location of the low off the coast of the Carolinas will determine whether we see more rain or more snow. So if Scotty is pro snow, does he want the low closer to the coast or further from the coast?
Well, for me living where I live, I want it a little bit closer. For Jared living where he lives, no, he doesn't want it that close if he wants to.
Give me flurries. Give me some nice flurries, and then get this thing the heck out of here, because the good news is that the strong winds will be out of the northwest. Because if this was coming out of the northeast, we would be in 8-foot tidal flooding, easy, and I don't want to deal with that on top of snow.
Yeah, where you can see the low there. That's kind of over the jet stream, the Gulf Stream, and that's also that little extra more juice that low pressure would need for that. But that's that track right there is a westward trend where we could see that moisture. You can see kind of backing into the foothills already. If it depends on where you live. If you live along the coast, you want it a little bit further out to see. That way it allows the colder air to kind of sink into your area. But if that is the case, then that cold, dry air is in place over the foothills and you don't get any snow. If you're in Charlotte, you're on the fringe of it. So that low, we tell you a 50-mile difference in the low pressure means a lot. It means you could get 0 inches of snow. It means you could get multiple inches of snow. And if you think about 50 miles in the scale of things, that's not a lot. but in the weather world, that's a lot.
Mhm.
You know, that 50
Yeah.
miles can change a whole lot.
Yeah. I've changed up the view a little bit on here, guys, to show the surface temperature. And again, because nerdy stuff, we're going Celsius, baby. Because the most important number you need to know is 0. And 0 is, in Celsius, the freezing point of water. So where you have the 0 line is, this is at, let me get this back to about, 2100 Z. This is 7 o'clock Friday night, and you see that you get -2.4 Celsius here. Generally, your freezing line going through Asheville, and again, to get snow. The one secret they tell you about snow is that it does not have to be freezing at the surface to get snow. You do not have to be at freezing at the surface to get snow.
No, it's
You
when
wanna
it's,
be-
it's when it's above freezing in the mid levels of the atmosphere that you get screwed.
That's the problem. Yeah, that's the problem. But you can you can get snow if it's 35, 36, you can very easily get snow because again, because you're thinking about the atmosphere as a layer. And you're thinking about the atmosphere as a layer. You have snowflakes all the way down, and then they just don't have enough time to melt, so they just won't stick, which is really the best of all worlds, considering how we do snow around here. So again, moving forward in time, one thing that I'm noticing, guys, is that the 2 meter temperatures, that freezing line is definitely very pronounced in North Carolina. Really, and again, we're really not seeing it get that far south in South Carolina. So that tells me that risk for sticking snow certainly is higher in North Carolina. I'll bring the precipitation overlay back up, and again, this is 3-hour precipitation. This would be the liquid equivalent of 3-hour precipitation, and you can see here that we would have precipitation in the area of Charlotte, very light precipitation, but we'd have it. Raleigh, Roanoke Rapids, Goldsboro, you're north of that 0 degree line. Greensboro, Roxboro. So your low, and we'll pull that back up. That's in the blue here. This guy's deepening offshore, and again, the NAM could just be. It's the NAM. The NAM likes to go nuts, especially when it's dealing with low-level heat and moisture. Often will over deepen things. So I want to use that as caution here on this. But you can see that we have that very tight gradient of cold air, northwest winds bringing it down, and when we look further up, we're also seeing that cold air extend all the way through the atmosphere. That sub-freezing air all the way through the atmosphere. So again, the ice risk. Not going to say nothing because you could have a little bit of freezing rain as things change over, but very, very, very low.
Here's a nerdy question for you. What kind of ratios are you talking, Mr. Smith?
And that's a really good question. We'll have to see ultimately. I got to peek into the soundings a little bit more. Right now, the Weather Service, I mean, if you're thinking about it, interpolating the Weather Service forecast, it certainly seems like you have 0.24, 0.25 inches of rain on this model here. They're going 1 to 2 inches of snow. So, oh God, asking me to do ratio math on air. Jeez, I can.
You're the one who went all nerdy on us.
I did go nerdy on you guys, and then it just it just broke down on me. What in the NFT are we looking at? Oh my goodness!
I hear YouTube's getting into this game, so
they are getting into this game. Maybe I sell this AWIPS picture as an NFT.
Just,
but all that being
super
said,
chat us before we start doing any NFTs.
But all that being said, what we've seen typically is about 7 to 8 to 1 inches, 8 to 1 inches of snow to liquid on average around the Carolinas, climatologically speaking, especially in Charleston. That's generally how we look at it. Right now, I would look at it from a climatology perspective. What I have noticed with some of the soundings is that the upper moisture gets stripped out in that dendritic growth zone. So that might lead to lower ratios as well. So we'll watch that. We're going to keep an eye on that. But again, depending on how much moisture there is, and we got to preface this too. We got to say this. Cold chasing moisture is a recipe for disappointment.
I know. It's where I'm trying to hold back my excitement. I'm very afraid of standing in my driveway again this Friday like I did last week, where I got pleasantly surprised by 2 inches of snow, and I'm afraid that I'm going to be out there again on Friday, and it's going to rain.
Yeah, exactly. And so, again, we want to, especially further south, especially for those of you watching me from Charleston, you're watching here from Charleston. I'm watching this like a hawk because I want to see some snowflakes. I mean, I stood outside in freezing rain last week.
I'm sorry.
I saw some
I tried
sleet.
to send you some. It didn't work out.
It's okay. I got some sleet,
Yeah.
and there were, a couple people got lucky, but that was about it.
All right, I'm going to do the boss thing, and I'm going to wrap us up. And I think Donald has hit the nail on the head. He'd love to sit here all night, but because we got to pace ourselves, because we are yet again in another series of nightly updates, followed by what sounds like some live coverage on Friday night. So that's exactly what you can expect from us here at the Carolina Weather Group. We'll be back tomorrow about 9 o'clock with another edition of Let's Talk Carolina Weather. Again, if you're new here, that's our conversational Q&A with you at home. We have our weekly series that called the Carolina Weather Group. It has the umbrella name of the parent company, and that's where we talk with newsmakers in the weather industry. So this week's episode was brand new with hurricane specialist Brian Norcross. I remember him from the Weather Channel. You may remember him from his other many stints in his 50 years of broadcasting. So you can check that out on YouTube or your audio podcast, or you can always find us streaming nonstop on the Carolina Weather Net. That's like, I don't want to have to click on a million things. Just give me the weather. And that's exactly what this is. You can leave it on streaming for free, any place you watch YouTube, from your smartphone to your smart TV, and we will give you that non-stop weather. It's called the Carolina Weather Net. So there you go. That's our little tutorial through the land of Carolina Weather Group. I'm James Brierton. That's Scotty Powell. Or that's Jared Smith. I don't know where Scotty Powell went, but he'll be back. I'm sure he's just printing out a DIFAX report and got his colored pencils on it and
Yep.
doing some hand analysis or something.
Yep. Something like that. I know that's what I would be doing. So
yeah. But so glad that so many of you are continuing to find us here at the Carolina Weather Group and from beyond the Carolinas. And that's exactly what we serve. Whether you have interests, loved ones back here in the Carolinas, or you just love talking weather, science, technology, and more. Our interview with Brian Norcross tonight, he's in Miami, but it was of relevance to all of us weather nerds. Scotty Powell says his internet has crashed, and we're saying no problem, because we're going to bid you all adieu and a good night. And stay tuned for more updates from the Carolina Weather Group on YouTube, wherever you get your audio podcast, and so much more. Thank you, Jared, for all of that lovely nerdiness.
Always a pleasure. And thanks to all of you for watching. Have a great night, everybody.